Greetings, online investors, and welcome to another Investor Roadshow presentation from the Online Investment Conference. I'm Peter Norman, founder of the OIC, where our goal is providing you with investment ideas worth watching. We've got another great idea to present to you today. Palamina holds interests in 8 gold projects in southeastern Peru's Puno orogenic gold belt. It's advancing the Usicayos gold project through drill discovery, holds rights to the Galena silver copper project, and has a 15.4% equity interest in Winshear Gold Corp, which is advancing the Gaban gold project. It's listed on TSXV as PA. Andrew Thomson is president of Palamina and joins us here today to present the story. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Peter. I'm just going to give everybody a brief overview of what Palamina's activities of the last 8 years. Palamina is a spin out from Agnico Eagle, the last company that I sold. What you're seeing here is just the manned portable drill at 3,700 meters from our last drill program. The drill is still sitting at site. We're set to start drilling in the next 2 months. The gestation of the company is really, I sold the last company that I had to Agnico Eagle and they spun me out Palamina, and I headed to Peru really looking for tier 1 gold deposits. And I came across this area that was somewhat ignored, mainly because of road access. There was no road access previously. In 2008, an intercontinental highway went through. So if you look at the Pa.vn region, all those stars, that represents million ounce plus gold deposits. And then in this belt, really, there's a lot of informal activity. There's about 100,000 informals operating. Most of them are in the valley, where it says Madre de Dios. So some of the pits there are 35 meters deep, and it's a very large area. It's over 1,200 square kilometers, and there's been a fair amount of deforestation, but above it sits the Puno orogenic gold belt. That area, that's where we're focused, and within it, the Mucamayo area is adjacent to one of our projects, and again, the population has gone up from about 1,600 to 1,900 in the last year, and then La Rinconada is a known deposit at 5,400 meters. We're the only reason, it's the highest town in the world, and their only reason that there is to mine gold, and you can see the women climbing on top of the waste rock piles at the end of the day, harvesting visible gold. So most of this is all hosted in shales. This is just an overview of the belt itself. So all the red stars are Palamina properties. The Usicayos is the main property. We're on our flank. We have the gold mining's Crucero deposit. Oyachea, you'll see on the Intercontinental Highway on that red serrated line. It's 1.4 million ounces actually, but that one is looking to go into production. And the team that were involved in discovering Oyachea, when they dropped their geological team, we picked them up. And then we did a vast amount of staking in a very short period of time. You've also got La Rinconada, which is the one at the top of the belt, and then Madre de Dios in the basin. So we're really looking for the source of the alluvial gold, and we think it's coming from this 175 by 75 kilometer orogenic system. You should note that Oyachea, Usicayos, and La Rinconada all occur at jog zones at the top of the mountain range. And so again, Palamina holds about a 70,000 hectare interest. Gaban, the one in blue, that's one that we sold to Winshear Gold, where we have a 15.4% equity interest and a 2% royalty. So this is the Usicayos project. The beige is the Ananea rock that generally hosts the gold in the belt. What you'll see here is there's about a 30-kilometer long shear zone where gold mining has a portion, and that red star, but we control the balance. So in the last 2 years, Winshear dropped the area, which is, we believe, the extension of Crucero, which is Panorama. We've done limited work there, but our main focus has been at Usicayos. So we have a fairly large land position. It's 14,000 hectares roughly. And where you see those the pink snowman or butterfly, that's our main focus. So that's a 4.5 kilometer trend on the southwest side of the shear zone. And we've got 11 priority zones where the pink is really the ones that we've identified as being the most prospective. So in 2022, we started the first inaugural drill program, the Veta zone, which was on the northeast end of those structures. We didn't at that time hold the Soldero zone, which we believe is the heart of the system. And we had limited results. We had very high grade at surface, up to 600 grams. But we weren't able to encounter it at depth. And, we feel that this area where we felt it had big potential before, which we now feel it's limited. We may go back to it in the future, but it's not the current focus. But we did have 24 meters of a half gram. We are running metallurgical tests right now to where we've sent a hole in, where we're doing metallic screening and trying some photon assaying just to make sure on the next program we're optimizing the return of good gold assays. So this is the trend. So you can see the Veta zone there to the east. All of the red dots are 10 gram per ton assays. And so we've got this very large orogenic system. It's on a northeast southwest trend. There is an intrusive in the Veta zone that is post-mineralization, but now the thickest area, which is the Sol de Oro, it's about 1.5 kilometers across. That's where we're focused now. So that was acquired in the last 2 years, and we've done a fair amount of work there, and it will be an inaugural drill program there, as well as the Cayos zone. But we feel pretty strong that Sol de Oro is the zone to focus on. So this is just a quick, we're now up to 8 visible gold zones here. We've got some fairly high values. You can see the 153 grams per ton, but really there's this flower structure between Sol de Oro north and south. And when you look to the east at Sol de Oro east, that's going to be the first area that we focus on. But, again, we've got some pretty big widths. In Sol de Oro north, there's over 6 meters of 5 grams. We've got 60 meters of 2 grams in Sol de Oro east. And then, at the base there, there's just under a meter of 200 grams and a meter of 153 grams. But really what we're looking at is where you look to the Sol de Oro east, that's the area where we're finding the most stacked mantles and we feel has the biggest potential for widespread gold mineralization in terms of drilling and having success. So this is just a quick view looking down. We're not looking north anymore. We're sort of looking west. And really what we're trying to show here is the mantles that we've identified that are mineralized. And again, in the last release we put out, we identified 2 visible and 2 perceived. We've now got 2 crews on site. We're also got a structural geologist working right now. And we've been defining those. So we've sent about 170 assays in with another 300 expected. There's 2 campaigns that are running before we go drilling in late June. We're also flying the area. We did fly the property with an airborne mag survey, which we're not releasing. And then we've got another mag survey, drone survey that we're doing to further define geophysical targets. So this is just a quick view of the Mantos and Sol de Oro East. This is the most prospective area we feel for drilling. And again, it's been traced over 800 meters, so it's a fairly extensive system. And this is where we're currently running a program. So at Sol de Oro, or at least Usicayos, our plan is to do about 3,000 meters. The drill is going to be moved from site up to this area. We're in the process of constructing a road, and we're setting up a new camp. We're also building drill pads, so it's a very busy time for us, and we're really looking forward to drilling this area. And again, both the Sol de Oro and Cayos areas, it's inaugural drill programs, and there is some ancient workings and some informal workings there, which lead us to believe it's a fairly prospective property. So again, we're hoping to, or at least what we'd like to see out of Sol de Oro East is, we sort of have a minimum 1 million ounce target there, and if we get lucky, it'll go through. But the key here is in this belt, we really haven't seen, a lot of these things haven't been drilled, and they're mined down the top 35 meters. So this, again, we're now going to have absolute road access to it, and we are seeing a lot of major interest in the area. So moving on to our equity partner, Winshear, we vended our Gaban project into them. We hold the property next door. There's a very active mining area to the southwest. If you follow the San Gaban and Anambari rivers and head along the Anambari River, you'll see the alluvial gold fields in the valley. Those have, again, expanded. They've actually gone from 35 to 49,000 people estimated in the last year. It's about a 10% cooperative. The balance are informal, but it's a very active area. And where you see the river running down, there's also a highway along it. That's the Intercontinental Highway. And the good thing about this property from Winshear is they own it 100%. Again, we have a 15.4 equity interest. We also have a 2% royalty, but it's got tremendous infrastructure. So, if you drive 3.5 kilometers north, you end up at the Port of Maldonado Airport. They've also built hydroelectric dams along the streams, including one just south of the cartoon here called the San Gaban hydroelectric dam, and there's a nice little town. So, Winshear's in the process. They started to also put a road in. This one will be helicopter assist from the town of San Gaban. When we flew it, we've already installed there. And, again, we're just moving from either Cusco or Port of Maldonado, and it's just a 2-day program really to move the drill in and out. The core and tubes and everything will be, carried in on the road. And then, the neat thing, too, is there was a landslide wiping out the highway on the north side of the San Gaban River, where we now have access. So from a major's point of view, it doesn't get much better. And again, the elevation here is quite good. The town's at 500 meters. And where you see the Corritiri goes on that coffin around it. We're finding, fairly big nuggets. This is the most recent. This one here weighs 0.44 kilos. It was pulled from the Yanamayo, just below the Yanamayo Ridge, but we're drilling. We don't think it's from the area that we're going to be drilling. It's a slightly different geology, but we are encouraged by the fact that, some local prospectors are pulling out some fairly big nuggets. So if you see where the Yanamayo target area is, that's where it was pulled from. But we also, in the last year, we found an old foundry, which is it's just west of where that guy is standing. And then we've also found a stamp mill. So, this stamp mill is turn of the 19th century. There were stamp mills at Oyoche and a property that's along the Anambra River to the east called Santo Domingo. It was Velasco's mine. It was the top gold producing mine in the Americas. And then where you see the Quartiri zone, the main Quartiri target, there's a series of adits that we found. So, the majors had gone about 3 kilometers up the Yanamayo Quartiri River, the Yanamayo River, and we've gone a little further, and we found all these old workings. So again, this is a big footprint, 2 kilometers by a kilometer. So we're pretty excited. We're not seeing the same amount of high grade at surface, but part of that has to do with jungle cover. But the idea here is they're going to run a 2,000 meter diamond drill program as well. And again, they're also using man portable. So this is a bigger picture. So in the last 8 years, we've been acquiring properties as they're being dropped. So again, we don't have any underlying owners. There are some acquisition, but again, we've never issued a royalty. So where you see the yellow there, that's Fresnillo. So that whole trend there, which is kind of the southwestern trend, where you see the Mucamayo mines, there's actually 12 operating mines there, and a good portion of those are co-op mines. But we tried to stake the extension on both sides. And again, it's all staked up. We just put in kind of the main companies. So you got Fresnillo. As soon as we flew it, Fresnillo came in and staked everything that was available. They have Grupo Mexico through Peñoles, have a property called Capac Orco, which sits between two of the main rock units that trend in this direction, and as soon as we showed interest, they came in and grabbed what they could. They've been paying up to $43,000 US for 100 hectares, so it's a fairly good premium. You can see the Mucamayo ore there, so that's the hard rock source that we've been talking about, and it's very gold rich. And then you can see what Winshear is getting out of their property. It should be noted that Cristal and Inca were both. Inca was a property held by a company called Balaclava. They dropped it 2 years ago after holding it for 16 years, and we staked it. But there are reports and 100-gram plus assays. We believe it's an extension to the Oyoche gold deposit. Again, our guys work there and they know the area well. And then Cristal was held by a company called Horizonte. We did a full study. We bought the Orion database out, where they spent about $2.5 million in this area, and then we also have Goldspot as shareholders, and we did a deal with them where we did a study on the belt and the Pa Cristal area. We were staking kind of the northeast portion of that, and the main area held by Horizonte came open, so we staked it. So we feel, there's 2 drill programs running in the next 3 months, one in Winshear and one in Palamina, drilling flagship targets. But this gold bank, we feel, will have a lot more oomph. And you can see again where the Intercontinental Highway goes by. All this stuff now has road access in the last 7 years. So it's getting pretty exciting. This is our critical metal focus. Again, my last company, we defined 77 million ounces of silver and sold to Technico. So here, what I'm looking for is higher grade copper silver. I have chased porphyries before, but I wanted something with low capex. So the blue there is Aftermath Silver. They paid about in excess of 20 million US, I believe, to acquire the property from Silver Standard. More recently, the black there, that's Friedland's Ivanhoe Electric acquired Kaizen in the last 3 months. They've done a typhoon survey where they're going to drill at depth. They've got 7 targets. For whatever reason, some of the ground came open. So we staked a third of one of the targets and half of the others. So, and those are in the top 4 priority targets. So that was a nice little land grab. And then where you see our Galena property down there, that's across from the Santa Lucia district. And there's a thing there called Santa Barbara, which is a known CRD. And again, it's high grade copper silver. And so we've got I'm not going to get into a lot of detail here because we really have a goal focus, but I think we will end up spinning this out into a new company. And the purple there is Fresnillo. So a lot of activity here, but really the yellow is Barrick, and they keep doing acquisition. They have 3 more land positions like this, and they're very active in Puno. If you Google Barrick, you'll see that it is one of their main focuses now in terms of their internal focuses to find gold. And it's very early stage. We've met with them, and they don't say much, but we do know that they're chasing gold copper. So it's really along the lines of kind of what the mantra's been to also be in the copper business. But what we think is, there's some they're chasing epithermal. This is, we're chasing something completely different. But, and again, in Puno, it's orogenic, but we're still encouraged that Barrick has enough. A lot of people have been talking about the political climate in Peru, and we're now at the stage where we're seeing major companies coming in. So this is just a brief slide of the people that are involved in the company. I'm not going to say too much. It's all on the webpage. All I can say is there's at least 6 corporate events with all these people. We got Jose Vizqueta Benavides, and who's part of the Buenaventura family, Phil, who had Marathon Gold in the orogenic play, but really solid team. This is probably the most important slide for investors. I myself and my wife, we've put over $1.5 million, closer to $2.5 million into the company. As a result, I hold a very large position, so I hold more than Eric Sprott. I'm very active in the market, so if you want to be involved in a company where people put skin in the game, I've got lots in this one, and I believe in it strongly. Eric is sort of a quiet investor in many ways. He's not a big fan of Peru, but he liked our gold position. In terms of the high net worth individuals, there are actually 4 of them, 2 of them allowed to be listed. And, again, it's just a very tight flow. We only have 71 million shares outstanding since we vended out of, or Agnico gave us Palamina, if you want, or spun it out. So, that's pretty good for a company that's been around since 2015. And again, there aren't a lot of options really, and the cash and marketable securities. So we had a transaction with Winshear where, because of our share ownership and they won an arbitration in Tanzania, we received $3.625 million in December. After paying the bills, we ended up with about just under $3 million, and then the company retains also a fairly large share ownership. We have over 4 million shares, and right now, or 4.8 million. So we're still, and we rolled it back. So, there's only 35 million shares out. And with that, those shares are probably worth about 700,000 to 800,000 of the 3 million that we're promoting here. And again, a fairly low market cap. So it's pretty interesting when you look at the fact that both companies are going drilling and have tight floats. So just to wrap it up, we've got this land bank of projects. We feel with drilling by both companies, we can see added value. We have this large equity position in Winshear, and again, that's fully diluted. We also have a 2% royalty on all their projects. They do have another project called Ica, which is quite an interesting copper play, which we sold them. And then again, both companies had $3 million in cash at the end of the year. So we're both drilling in the next 2 to 3 months. And, we're going to drill our Usicayos project, and they're going to drill their Gaban gold project. You can go to the winshear.com and look at that one. And then we've got this critical metals focus. It's really a buy and hold strategy, much like the gold bank, where Peru's had its fair share of issues, and there's a lot of good ground that's come open. And now with the price of copper going up $1, we're seeing a tremendous interest, and the stocks are, starting to react again. So, we're pretty happy with how everything's gone. And I think, we're a good investment.
Andrew, great presentation. You speak from obviously a vast base of experience and an incredible amount of enthusiasm. Let's delve into a few questions here. Why Peru?
We're going into the electrical age, and Peru has its top 6 for copper at any time, and it was always 1 or 2 for silver, maybe 3rd now. But they also have this, the Yanacocha gold deposit is a good example. There's just been a lack of drilling in Peru, and if you're somebody that likes to make discovery, you could argue it's the Saudi Arabia of tomorrow because of their critical metal component. So, you can either be the Beverly Hillbillies, or you can be the guy drilling the holes. But either way, if they can get a lot of drills turning, they should be able to add a lot of value. So for me, if you could choose where you want to go at the beginning of an oil boom, if this is the Saudi Arabia of tomorrow, I want to be there. So, my focus, having said that, is gold. And what struck me about this orogenic belt is that it now has access, and there aren't, there's just all this political nonsense around it, where you've got companies like Barrick coming into Puno now, where it is a different world. And my experience with building roads is that when it opens things up, it's a lot different than when there weren't roads. And when they start getting trucks and satellite dishes and all this stuff, it's just a unique opportunity. So from a really macro perspective, it's a good time to be in there. And we feel strongly we have a good potential to, get into some good gold deposits.
So what are your thoughts on gold?
Well, effectively, we're seeing the highest prices ever with a high US dollar. I feel pretty strongly that not so much that gold's going up, but the currencies are having issues because of the amount of money we're printing. So we're finally starting to see, some life in our sector where, if we get into what I call real momentum, the companies that have tight floats, that have good projects, should be able to start raising serious money. And I still think, the lack of discovery is actually going to work in our favor. So that's why we're focused in this orogenic belt that's really not seen any drilling.
Peru's known for base metals. Why not base metals?
Well, again, as I said from the beginning, there's a tremendous base metal foundation in Peru where there's a lot of senior companies operating. And with our critical metals focus in the Santa Lucia district, it's the land of elephants. And there's some very significant deposits. And you've got Rob Friedland just acquiring Kaizen Discovery, where they're going to drill fairly deep looking for the, kind of the porphyry source of the Panaya deposit. You've got Aftermath Silver that are at the end of a fairly long acquisition period where they spent $22 million and they've got a 40 million ton high grade copper silver deposit. Then you've got Barrick coming in and they've stayed vast. They're just in acquisition mode. So it's pretty early stage. So from our perspective, Peru is going to be one of the big base metal companies, if not already. Like, it already has a big contingent. Like, I consider silver now more of a base metal, to be quite honest. But again, in the electric age, this country should just do very well.
You got a pretty experienced team there. Can you elaborate a little more on their backgrounds and experience?
Sure. So Peter Badish is an engineer. He was on a board when I started. He taught me to write press releases, and he's just somebody very well connected, including being a director of a proving company. Christina McCarthy, she was working with McEwen when she left. She went to New Oro, Peru. She packaged that up and sold it. It's near the Tres Cruces gold project. And then she has since started a company, Paycor, in Nevada, which she also sold. So she's quite an experienced veteran already, even though she's quite young. Sean Spraggett was part of Northmont in Peru. They sold the Hud Bay for just under $500 million. He's now working for Peerless in Panama, but he's defined very large deposits, et cetera. Alistair Waddell, again, he was an ex-Kinross, but he worked in our belt with Chris Lauder. So he has a lot of experience with that. He's running a company now called Inflection Capital, looking for gold in Australia. Michael Ferrant and Hal Stewart. Hal we just brought on. They had a company called Puno Gold, which they sold into Miramont, where Quentin Henning had that. But they're quite experienced in the Santa Lucia district. And Michael, acting as CFO, is very versed in proving. They also sold their last silver company. They were also a Coeur shareholder company, where we have similar trajectories, where we both sold our companies. Alvaro Fernandez Baca, he was with Tinka, the zinc company. I think they moved it to pre-feasibility, but he's been around forever in Peru. He actually worked for Jerry, when they were working with She-10s. So tons of experience. He's the right guy now to make discovery. Yuri Valdivieso, again, the Orogenic deposit, which sits 60 kilometers west of our Usicayos project and 30 kilometers uphill from Winshear's Gaban project. They define 1.4 million ounces there in the same systems. So they've looked at all that ground. Our company in many ways is a bit of an extension of that company. So a lot of the ideas that he had for the belt, he's been in it 18 years, operated there. He's really the guy running it. Jose Vizqueta Benavides, he's part of the Benavides family in Peru. And he runs O3, so he has a lot of experience in gold mining. And again, Buenaventura are one of the more established Peruvian groups. There's kind of the royalty in Peruvian mining. And Phil Walford had an orogenic system, Marathon Gold, which just got taken out. Phil, I think he took it from less or around 1 million ounces to 4 or 5 million ounces. So, again, a very, that statement at the bottom is really just designed to show that everybody's done corporate. And, at the end of the day, we're in this to sell the company to a big senior major company.
You said your last company was sold to Agnico Eagle. What was that company and why did they buy it?
So we had a company called Soltoro, and we were, again, active in southwestern Mexico. We defined a very large silver deposit. It was about 78 million ounces or 77 million ounces. We never did actually do another resource. We were trying to get it to 100. And we had, a very significant land position in the state of Jalisco. And adjacent to us was a company called Caden Resources came in, and they bought Caden, then they bought us. But candidly, we were active in that area and talked to them well before Caden. But at the end of the day, they wanted the entire district. So it was again a similar sort of situation where we were early in terms of explorers. There wasn't a lot of exploration going on there, and I tend to go to areas that have like in this area, La Rinconada, we think it's a 15 million ounce deposit at the top of the world, and they've moved a glacier to, by hand, and they're still doing it. So it's when you see that sort of thing, and suddenly roads go in, it gets pretty exciting. And we haven't had a lot of trouble operating in the belt. So that's at the end of the day, that's the focus.
You got $3 million of cash and marketable securities in the bank. Are you going to have to do another financing to roll out your program?
We'll get through the program, and again, the equity in Winshear, they're going to be drilling, and we rolled it where there's 35 million shares out, and we've got 4.83. And at the end of the day, if we have to sell that, we will. But I don't perceive we sort of delivered a big win. It's not often when you add the cash that we received, which was 3.625 million, and then the equity being worth 800. Our shareholders have seen, in a pretty tough market, 4 million plus in non-dilutive funds coming in, and they're going to see 2 drill programs. We hold a royalty, so they're actually pretty happy, and they've made money. So we haven't had a lot of issue raising money. So I'm not too concerned with it, and I believe strongly in the assets that we have. I've got a lot of skin in the game. So from that perspective, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just getting excited because we're finally going to drill the heart of this system at Usicayos, and we're seeing. I think when the next releases come out, you get a good idea of what we're intending to drill. And again, they tend to be thin vein and hard to hit, but we're doing a lot of work to overcome that. And again, Alvaro, the ad with Alvaro is a big thing for us because he's, from that. There's a slate of geologists between the age of 45 and 55 that have tremendous experience in Peru, and they're hard to hire. And at the bottom of the market, we sort of started talking. He didn't come on board for me. He came on board for the assets. So that's all I'm going to say, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, and that concludes our question period and our presentation for today. And Andrew, before we bring the session to a close, for your final remarks, why not summarize for investors why they should invest in Palamina?
Well, there's 2 fully funded programs, one in Palamina and one in our equity royalty partner, where we're drilling really inaugural drill programs looking for big targets, big orogenic gold system targets in a burgeoning gold market where I think by the fall we are going to see a little bit more momentum. And also, the president has a lot of his own personal money in the company, to make him believe that I'm not here to, I want to retire the great-great-grandchildren. It's more of a challenge to me to exponentiate wealth than, I've done okay in this business. And I think that, what I'm really excited by is Peru doesn't have a lot of gold plays, and I think we're the only 2 junior exploration companies drilling gold targets. And so, there's quite a few majors in Peru, so we've already been talking to them, and if we can actually get a hole out of this, a decent hole, I think we can see a lot of momentum, and we'll look at partnering and or selling the company, within a time frame that makes sense. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Again, I'm available for call or anytime. The number's there, our office number's there, or you can email me at the contact at Palamina. Thank you for listening to my presentation.